Hello guys, today I want to show a video from Eric Weinstein. He's talking about Jeffrey Epstein, the Jeffrey Epstein mystery, and everything about him that is so mysterious. Guys, the reason why I like to do this kind of video, because you see how the world is very mysterious, right? We hear about the COVID-19, you hear about the fraud in the election, you hear about stuff like that. What should we believe? What is real? What is not real? I think the world has mysteries and people that are very mysterious. Even Donald Trump, who he is, you know. And I think like the story of Jeffrey Epstein, if we open it up and we see what it is, it's gonna help us understand our world. So here, listen to Eric Weinstein. He had a very good perspective on Jeffrey Epstein. Please listen to him carefully.
And print whatever comes back. Whatever it is, there's no possibility of an uninteresting answer to the central questions. And yet, the central questions are not asked.
And what are those central questions?
The first one is very simple. You have to ask every government that might be involved, was Jeffrey Epstein known to be attached to any intelligence agency anywhere in the world? Then you have to ask, were his vile activities known to the intelligence agencies, and was there any kind of tacit approval or understanding, or is there a categorical denial that such techniques may never be used? Now, we have not recorded the no comments, or we don't discuss sources and methods. That's typical in these stories, where you should be able to say, can I at least get a statement that we would never condone activities to be used for intelligence gathering purposes? All right. The next question. Jeffrey Epstein was supposed to be a hedge fund manager of some kind, and he had extensive offices at a place called Villard House, the former Helmsley Palace. This trophy building is a place that I myself dropped off materials for Jeffrey Epstein to review in connection to a hedge fund matter. What I want to know is, where are the trading records from Villard House? It would be almost impossible to go back in time and fake trading records for a billion-dollar-plus hedge fund. And yet nobody seems to have ever recorded a trade with Jeffrey Epstein. We don't know where he did prime brokerage. There are no financial records that explain his fortune.
Are those publicly available, or should those be publicly available?
I don't even care about that. Where are the records? If there are no records, I mean, presumably this person paid taxes. Presumably this person had to make SEC filings. I don't know. But the key issue is, I don't think there was a hedge fund. When I met Jeffrey Epstein, which might have been something like 2002, before he was charged with sex crime violations in Florida, I did not believe that Jeffrey Epstein was a hedge fund manager. And I, in fact, called my wife at the time, and I said, this man appears to be a construct. And she said, what do you mean by a construct? And I said, it's like they've hired an actor to play a hedge fund manager. But this person didn't behave like the super rich normally behave. He didn't behave like a hedge fund manager behaved. He didn't have any of the substance that you would normally associate with people of that class. I'm not saying he wasn't smart, but he was glib, and he lived essentially like he was Gatsby. I only met him once. It was probably for about an hour or so. But he was an absolutely terrifying person to encounter. It would be surprising to me if I was alone, in that I immediately had the suspicion that I was looking at somebody who had been constructed rather than something that had organically arisen within the financial community. Further questions that need to be asked. Where was Ghislaine Maxwell's passport last cited? Assume that she has one or more passports, and assume that governments record when passports go through a border point. Okay. We should at least be able to ascertain, where was the last point where her passports, or at least one of her passports, were officially seen? I don't know of anybody asking this question. Can we not call up Interpol? Is there no sense in which we can guess where she was last located? What was the last social event at which she was recorded? We don't seem to know anything about this person. Why are we not talking to Les Wexner? I don't understand why these people are not being interviewed or deposed. We have a very strange situation. And in all of these cases, a simple declaration of no comment would be a newsworthy story.
I mean, I'm hopeful. I mean, investigative journalism does take time. I'm hopeful that there are...
You've got to be kidding. I'm going to shut you down on this. It's been over 6 months. This doesn't take that long to get a no comment from the CIA.
I'm not
the
talking
NSA,
about the
and
no
State
comment.
Department.
I'm not talking about the no comment. My point was going to be, given the amount of interest in the Epstein story, there must be some investigative journalists working on it. I completely agree with your points about the no comments. Like that is not being.
I'm sorry, it's not a question of some investigative journalist. We tripped over some enormous structure. We don't know what this structure was.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense. The fortune that I think I've seen referenced is something like $600 million. Who with $600 million would make these purchases? You know, multiple jet aircrafts, private islands, you know, a townhouse on 71st Street in Manhattan, a huge complex in the New Mexico desert, property in Paris. It would appear that most of this was intended for display. I mean, in other words, the behavior patterns of Jeffrey Epstein suggest an 11-figure fortune, maybe high 11-figure fortune. This person appears to be somewhere in the 9 figures. That's 2 orders of magnitude off. Now, I know that very rich is very rich to many people, but, you know, as a person of much smaller means, I can tell you that if you hang around with people who are in this stratosphere, they behave very differently depending upon which order of magnitude they're at. And Jeffrey Epstein was at the wrong order of magnitude. He was behaving like a high 11-figure type guy, maybe, with what appears to be a 9-figure fortune.
Yeah, I mean, my point on this is that I don't know where the media interest is, and it doesn't add up that there wouldn't be media interest given that the huge desire for the story that you can kind of see every.
So yes, so every question here is talking about very important issues. Is Jeffrey Epstein is too mysterious. He has all this money. They claim he's a financier, and nobody knows the transaction of the trading that that was done between him and clients. I mean, he doesn't know. He feels that there's so much mysterious. You know, like when there's a real financial firm or somebody that's a financial whatever advisor in Wall Street or whatever. Those people, they have receipt, they pay taxes, but he feels like there's a lot of like darkness in the Jeffrey Epstein story, and I think they put his net worth at around $600 million. But a $600 million man, how can he buy all those things? The island, the airplane, the mansion. How can he live that kind of life? A house in Paris. That's for like billionaires. So it's so much mystery. And who will allow them to live that kind of life? And the way he died was so mysterious also. So Jeffrey Epstein has a mystery in his life, you know? He lives a very mysterious life. We don't understand who he is, where he came from, whatever. So Weinstein made it very clear that there's a lot of questions that need to be answered, and we are focusing on the right thing. We are looking at the sexual abuse. But look at how Jeffrey Epstein was in Miami, Florida, and he was acquitted, basically acquitted of the crime. He didn't spend 35 years. He spent 1 year in a comfortable motel, like a jail that was like a motel, and he was able to go back and forth home. The judge dismissed the case in Florida. So who got that kind of power? You know, I thought that nobody was above the law. Finally, he got caught, but even when he got caught, he escaped because now he's supposedly dead. But let me ask you a question. Let me ask you guys a question. Do you think Jeffrey Epstein is really dead? You see, I can put that question in the air, in the ether, so that you guys can think about it. Maybe he's not really dead. Who knows? The story is so mysterious. Now, Ghislaine Maxwell is out there. Ghislaine Maxwell is asking for bail. For like, she's asking for a bail hearing. She has a bail hearing coming up on the 21st. She wants to get out of jail for a little bit. Like, if everybody's normal, they're not going to allow Ghislaine Maxwell to get out of jail even for 1 minute. But you never know. Let's watch December 21st. Let's see what happened. But, you know, there's so much mystery. And Eric Weinstein is correct about this. A lot of things need to be investigated about Jeffrey Epstein. Yeah. It's so mysterious. All right, take care.